Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. This is our third 1 Million Cup Sacramento event. We were the 95th city to join 1 Million Cups. So this happens at 9 a.m. every Wednesday all across the U.S. and in major cities, and even some smaller ones now as they begin to expand a little bit. A couple kind of administrative things to get started. Please, feel free to live tweet the event at 1 Million Cup Sac, hashtag 1MCSac, right, Laura?
Yeah, that's
all right.
right.
I got it right this week. I screwed that up last week. Join us on our Facebook page. We post the event there as well as several meetup groups every week. That way you can RSVP, communicate, talk to people after the fact. And don't forget to download the app. You can check into this event. You can leave feedback for the presenters. It's a free app on the App Store. Go get it. Just type in 1 Million Cups, you'll find it. I like to start every week to thank the community organizers. This is a volunteer position. We're always looking for more help, so if you're interested in joining us, please come talk to me afterwards. But without these guys, we couldn't do this every week. So if you see them afterwards, please say thank you. They put in a lot of effort. For those of you, I forgot to mention on the last slide, for those of you, this is your first time, welcome. 1 Million Cups, the idea of it is to get together, foster the entrepreneurial spirit here in the Sacramento region, support each other, get feedback, make connections. We will end the session. We won't usher you out of here very quickly. We'll stick around. Feel free to come network, make introductions. One of the things we do after every presenter is ask them what can the community do for them. That's their opportunity to say, hey, I'm here because I'm looking for connections to investors, or I need feedback, or I need to find a lawyer, or whoever it may be. If you know someone, please go up and talk to them. This is a huge help to the companies in this region that are trying to get started and bring jobs to the area, so it's a big part of what 1 Million Cups is. Last but not least, before we get into the fun stuff, thank you as always to our sponsors. Temple does the coffee downtown. They're, I think, on R Street, right near the Velocity office, where we hold the every 3 out of 4 of these events, and then Velocity Venture Capital for the building we're in today. And a special thanks to Rich Adaptology. He brought the donuts today, so those of you that are hungry, you can thank him. And without further ado, we got 2 great presenters today. The first of which is FresherUSA. And I'd like to welcome Rabbi David Azen. Did I get it right? Yeah. Okay, great, thank
you. So I am an actual rabbi. I've been a rabbi for 30 years. Social justice is really what drives me as a rabbi. And for the last 10 years, I've been working in the healthy food space, innovating healthier fundraising, putting garden beds into the youth detention facility, a lot of different things along the way. But our commitment is to make sure that everyone's well fed, and to that end, for the last couple of years, we've been building the capacity to provide healthy take-home meals, prepared, ready to put into the microwave meals for lower income folks to make the healthy choice the easy choice. And so the faces of hunger are many, too many, and varied. In fact, in the county of Sacramento, over 242,000 people are considered food insecure, meaning they sometimes don't know where their next meal is coming from. About half of those are actually in the city of Sacramento. So 1 in 6 nationally are food insecure, 1 in 4, or about 24% in the city of Sacramento. This is from Feeding America. Last year, they estimate the meal gap, what it would take to close the gap on hunger, given that the average cost of a meal is $2.98. It's over $127 million for the county of Sacramento. We are not going to donate our way to the end of hunger. The Run to Feed the Hungry, as great as it is, raises $1 million. Against the $127 million gap, you can tell that's not going to get there. And we're not going to get government to start to increase taxes to close that gap either. So FresherUSA is taking a business approach, an entrepreneurial approach, where the only exit strategy is an exit from hunger. That's our goal. So the way that we do it is we are hiring and training fresher chefs. One of our leads, Chef Sydney Sago, The Art Institute of California, Sacramento is our full partner. A lot of these folks are from there. Pam is our lead, she's an instructor at the Art Institute. And we are now training, actually, at-risk young adults and other youth as well to be Fresher chefs. Our first cohort just started at La Familia under a city gang violence prevention grant with also some support from a Walmart grant. So these are our chefs working at the Art Institute pro bono. We've gotten used to their kitchens, but we're now establishing kitchens throughout the city in various locations. These are some of our meals. This is a $3 meatloaf. It's about a pound of food, all healthier made, but things that people will eat. So we're not going for the healthiest or the best. If you ask me if it's all organic, I will say no, it is not. It is healthier. That's why we're fresher, not freshest. We want to move people along the spectrum rather than make it so pure that nobody buys. And we're working at Phoenix Park, Section 8 SHRA housing community, La Familia. We're about to start at the Boys and Girls Club, placing chefs to work in the kitchen there. St. Paul's Church in Oak Park. And there are many other sites that are interested in adopting the program throughout the city. And as we expand, it will become easier and easier. So we can actually make and then distribute from those locations as caterers to the community. Here's the greatest competitive advantage we have, other than this structure that nobody else has been doing so far, which is that we're the first organization in the country to get the authorization for people to use their SNAP or CalFresh food stamp, formerly food stamps, money for these take-home meals. It's the first in the country. So we can actually create a community meal plan where for $100 a person, for example, a month, we can make sure that the family has dinner every single night. A lot of people you may be familiar with run out mid-month, and then they're at sea in terms of getting their kids through the rest of the month. And we all know the impact on education and all sorts of other things from the lack of food. These are the first meals delivered at Phoenix Park a couple of months ago. And there is a vicious cycle that we have in too many places in our country. We've got a cycle of poverty, disease, and early death going on. About 14 years is the gap, actually, between some zip code average lifespans and wealthier zip code lifespans. That's huge, and that's unjust. And so if poverty is the key determinant of poor health, then lack of ownership, I would say, is the key determinant of poverty. So if we're going to break the cycle, we can't just provide food. We have to find a way to create ownership of the food system itself. So how do we build wealth from health? How do we create a sense of ownership? We create FresherUSA as a community-owned business, otherwise known as our company store for the company we keep. And so the idea is to structure this in a way that everyone, every resident, is part of this food collaborative, a member of the food collaborative, just by virtue of being a resident in the county or in the city in which they live, and they'll get some return. And that's to be determined exactly how that works. A lot of different ideas have been floated, but the idea is to provide a stake in the economy and the future for even the least of us, right? So that everybody is an owner in the system. Fresh Producers is the original nonprofit upon which this is built and which got the authorization from the USDA for the use of the food stamps. Fresh Consumers is actually had as a shell waiting to be activated as a for-profit, and together those create Fresher Futures. And this is our cycle of health, wealth, and skills for life that emerge from integrating all these under the FresherUSA brand, so that we can turn money into a stream that keeps everyone afloat and well-fed. And Fresher Sacramento would be the first county-wide collaborative model. There are over 3,200 counties in the country. So imagine the technical fees, if we get this right here, that then start to come in, and all of the other jobs that come with running this across the country for Sacramento as well. And the reason it's countywide is because health and food regulations are county by county. And so it's the most natural, and it's the most underutilized political entity that we actually have in the country too. Startup funding, we're looking for $1 million to get a crew in both South Sac and in North Sac. That would be a lead chef, 5 assistants, and a food truck. And then our support for app and ordering and all the other stuff that comes with that. One chef, by the way, could be taking care of 20 families of 5 at $100 a person a month and have a sustainable $15 an hour job with benefits. Just 20 families with 5 people in each. So if we can do it one day, we can do it every day, and kids' lives are at stake, and adults too. So we are Fresher. We can all be Fresher. Thank you very, very much.
So as I said earlier, we like to start every Q&A session. We have about 15 to 20 minutes for Q&A, but we start with the same question. What can we as a community do for you?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, this is my first kind of coming forward, looking for investors, looking on the for-profit side and not just for grants. Grants are, everything is hard. Raising money is tough, but I am actually tired of grants. Really, really, really tired of begging folks for money, as opposed to looking for investors who get this, who get that there will be a return. There should be a steady return, but it's not an exit strategy return. It's not a 5X kind of a proposition. It's really a social venture. And so if there's anybody that you can point me toward or introduce me to who could help find the folks who have a heart for this kind of a venture and want something that's a good long-term investment, not just, and there could be actually, as we're talking about 3,200 counties, getting in Sacramento could result in greater returns than I even could imagine. The other piece of that is that if there's anybody who knows a commercial kitchen installer or a store that does commercial kitchens and wants a great demonstration project, I think I have a space with the Conservation Corps, California Conservation Corps, in the heart of South Sac. That would be perfect. We can find other spaces as well. But somebody who might want to either donate or heavily discount the installation of a commercial kitchen. We could use one central kitchen that then helps take care of the satellite kitchens, right? The other thing is we don't have office space. So if anybody's got just a basic office space somewhere, not this way because most of our work is that way, but up and down the 99 corridor, somewhere in there would be great for us to have a place to park ourselves. We just have not had that yet. And sponsors. So any businesses that would want to sponsor, get their name out on our truck, we're about to get a refrigerated truck, and then looking at the legal structure. And Jack's not here today, but he had offered the possibility of someone to consult with. But anybody who would like to be part of a conversation and thinks they have some ideas about the legal structure for this would be great.
Any questions from the audience?
How many jobs in Sacramento do you think you're going to create?
That's a really good question. I think that we could actually create easily 1,000 jobs in the long run. I think that the idea is that ultimately we have a chef for every 1,000 food insecure people, right? So that they're really able to help train those families. And so if you look at that, that would be actually, that's 250 jobs right there. I think there are other jobs as assistants. I think there are technological jobs. I think that in the community itself, one of the ways that this works is that the fresh producers, the folks on the supply side, will keep 80%. They do 80% of the work. They keep 80% of the sales price. That 20% then goes to the fresh consumers. And so there are folks who are working at the Boys and Girls Club. There are team jobs, ordering, delivering, all of marketing, all of that kind of jobs as well. So I would say somewhere at least 500 to 1,000 jobs. Yeah.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
In the scope of food, you have that covered. Do you guys try and assist or influence drink or beverage or help them make healthy choices in that direction?
That's a great realm that we have not really explored. It's definitely something we'd be interested in. So absolutely, if you have some ideas about that, that'd be great.
And then follow-up would be, is there any thought to, how do we say, graduation, when people get introduced to the healthy food and they realize, oh my gosh, this is delicious and this is good for me and I feel better now that I'm eating it. And so if you want to give them the recipes or give them,
Yes.
I would say a little bit of legs or wings to.
So we also do cooking classes. We've taught cooking classes in the Section 8 housing community. We're training those young, at-risk young adults because then they'll be able to make stuff themselves. So yes, we ultimately want people to be as self-sufficient as possible, but recognize that there are a lot of working parents, a lot of folks who just don't have the skills. So we're jump-starting the better eating with the goal that people will then be able to prepare as much as they can or want to. I don't say that this is Blue Apron because we're not starting with the meal kits, but we can graduate to the meal kits. But right now we're focused on the prepared take-home meals. The idea eventually though would be, here are your ingredients. And again, bringing food to people rather than people to food reduces environmental impacts and a lot of other things. So even if we're not doing the prepared meals, we're bringing the meal kits and distributing them where people are picking up their kids, where they're coming home from work. That has a lot of impact on stress and environment as well, and cost.
How much of your workforce do you see being volunteers, or will they all be paid?
No, they won't all be paid. We definitely have a role for volunteers. We could absolutely use folks who have some, experience to support at different sites. Absolutely, that would be great.
But will that be a required part of your business plan, or could you do this all with?
We could do this all through paid. I mean, we could potentially, but volunteers are obviously going to help subsidize. And the other thing I didn't say, by the way, is that the other way that we can support this, and the other request I would have is we can have higher income folks buy these same meals. They're great meals. I mean, they are professionally made in certified kitchens with great ingredients. If you're a purist about organic and all that, we may develop those for higher end markets. That's not our goal right now, but it could be downstream. But for right now, folks who would like decent meals, like really good meals, and pay more for those meals, then they can help subsidize our work in the lower income community. So if you have a place that might be an outlet, an office, or some congregation, even an upper end congregation that might purchase the meals as well, and or meal kits, right? We could easily do those as well. Yes?
Could you take the Tom's Shoes model and have people say, all right, I'm willing to pay double, and then it goes.
That's brilliant. That's a really good. We'll look at that, definitely. I like that.
Are you familiar with B-Lab investors?
No.
So my answer to your question, so you talked about the corporate structure, and so B-Lab started on the East Coast, and these two guys had an idea to create a hybrid model.
Is that the B Corp?
B Corp is what it eventually turned into. So on that site though, B-Lab, there are investors that are looking for social enterprises.
Thank
so
you.
that might be a great place to start.
Awesome. I've looked at B Corp as a possible structure for this, so thank you.
So B-Lab is the blab.org is what you'll want to look up.
Okay, great, thank you.
You mentioned that you're kind of a blend of a nonprofit corporation and a for-profit corporation, and then you mentioned you're looking for people to, donate time, effort, space. Because of your nonprofit side, can those people who donate get actually have something?
Exactly. That's the advantage of having a hybrid model. Yeah. Play both ends against the middle. Yes, sir.
Have you looked for anything in terms of just public funding or something like this through one of the online sources?
I'm sorry, through what?
One of the online sources like Kickstarter or something.
So we have been looking at that. We were thinking we might do something around the food stamp challenge in November. We're probably going to have an event on November 10th at the Boys and Girls Club where we're going to organize and show how a community meal plan can actually help people even on the $6.47 a day is the maximum benefits. So even somebody on those, we could actually make a complete wraparound food plan for. But we weren't quite ready to launch that in November, so we're probably looking at April. We did a Fresher Passover event last year, so now we're thinking about Fresher Passover, Fresher Easter. Senator Pan is on board with the possibility of declaring an end to hunger in Sacramento by the time he turns out of office in 2022. Wow. So that would probably be where we would do some kind of campaign like that.
Okay, and I was also wondering, in terms of investors, oftentimes they're looking for, like you say, the 5X revenue improvement. What do you appeal to them for, and what appeal do you have to them if they're not getting that out of it?
Sure. I think that there's a certain point at which they'll get certainly first money back. and then either a steady return, or maybe there is a way that we can structure it that eventually they get that kind of return. But more to the point, I could see a steady 10 to 20% return on their money on an annual basis. That would be better than, you know, parking them in a lot of other different funds, something like that.
So is the meals, the $3 meal, is that enough for an entire family? Or is that,
That's one person. That's a pound of food.
okay. And then,
And by the way, our cost basis on that is below $2. So if we don't have any distribution costs and we're at a site and we have the subsidies, we can actually even reduce the price of the meals further.
do you do catering? Are you thought about catering?
Absolutely. We're actually built on the back of a catering company called Art of Flavor that was created by Pam at the Art Institute.
All right, maybe I might try this business.
Perfect. Actually, that's a great thing to remember to mention.
So the other thing is, actually, as a nonprofit, you could actually apply to Y Combinator. You actually have two. So I think that they might find it pretty interesting. So.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
You had an interesting, the circular thing kind of shows the sustainability, which is key. And the idea of a roadmap, we kind of discussed that you had other ideas that you guys have been at least brainstorming. So I would suggest if you want to create one where the arrows point end to end, and
Yes.
create a little bit more of a time plan. You're definitely in phase one right now, but people are always interested in how you're looking at growth down the road.
Thank you. That's helpful. Yes.
I'm curious who you partner with to keep your ingredient costs low and manageable over the long term.
Right. So we just got connected actually through County Supervisor Kennedy to Cisco, and so they're really interested in working with us. So actually, for the first time, we have someone who will help us with the marketing by providing product that we can then use for taste tests, you know, to offer that, which we just haven't had the budget for. So that's one thing. They also have chefs. They have their own test kitchen. And so they're willing to work with us on menu planning. So when we look at month by month meal planning, then we can actually work with them, and they know inside and out the prices and the best deals and all of that. So that's our immediate partner. We're also working with Center for Land-Based Learning to connect with local farmers directly. And the other piece of this is that it doesn't just have to be our chefs products that are being distributed. Any provider or producer or even a retailer could actually sell their goods through our system, direct distribution to consumers. And again, I would say the 80-20 rule applies, right? So they're gonna, you know, and for example, for someone who's placing their products at Raley's, and I'm not trying to put Raley's out of business, I want to be very, very clear about that. They're a sponsor of us, so that's not my goal. But you get like maybe 40 or 50 cents on the dollar when you place a product at Raley's. Well, 80 cents on the dollar is a lot better deal, right? And so we can also have that kind of opportunity as well. So we're looking at something that is all-inclusive, that's not trying to make exclusive arrangements in any kind of way, but that really supports the whole food system.
Curious if you guys have had any conversations with the Food Literacy Center?
Yeah, I know Amber, and I know the folks there. We sit on the same Farm to Fork Youth Engagement Committee, so we haven't really collaborated yet, but it's in the realm of opportunity. We've been doing our own teaching in community settings, more for adults than for kids.
Right, just wondering if they're reaching the kids, if somehow through the kids, they could get information to the parents about what you're doing.
I think once we are up and running and we have our systems in place, then the school, like Capital, I can't remember, but there's a private school or a charter school where we could distribute through charter schools. I haven't gone toward the public schools because there's all sorts of regulations that I'm sure will weigh us down. But there are some schools that we could probably, or Marina Vista, where they're setting up the farm at Leotata Floyd Elementary School. So there are a lot of opportunities once we get ourselves really in gear, which is coming shortly.
So one more question. I know because we talked about it that you're trying to figure out what is the best way to structure your company.
Yes.
Is that something, are you looking for you're looking for people maybe who have experience with that, or either
Yes.
done that before for their own company, or even possibly an attorney who has worked on
Absolutely.
things like that?
Absolutely.
I did talk to Jack, and he said he's gonna get you the name of that person. So
Okay, great.
He apologized for not being able to be here, but I did.
Thank
get
you.
that info.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
You mentioned as part of the $1 million that you're seeking, part of that going towards building out the technology.
Uh-huh.
Can you elaborate on that? Is that more like the back office sort of phase, or are you looking to empower your community with tools and apps and websites to order food, meal plan themselves?
Yes, yes, and yes. So the first phase is ordering, right? Is having our sites up on a map and their menus available, and then it's a pre-order system so that we're not wasting money on unsold product, at least at this point. And so enabling people to put orders in. Now, with food stamps, CalFresh, we can't take online orders where they're putting their card information in, but they could reserve an order and then come on in and pay for it at another time. So we're looking at that, and we're working with Rich on that. There's another piece of it where I think there's going to be a whole kind of Fresher chefs sharing recipes, kind of a corner to it. And then there's another thing that I've really been thinking about, and Rich has suggested somebody to talk to about it, but where folks who are in that meal gap situation. So let's just say there's a foster youth out on the, who's out of the system, and they really don't have enough money for food. So what if we had an app that they could tap into where they could contribute some work, some sweat equity, and earn food credits that they could then use for food at our various locations? That, I think, is another one of the game changers in this. And I have chills actually talking about it. I really want to see that happen, figure that out.
And that all sounds awesome. One other question. The meals are ready made, so how long are they made to last?
Yeah, that's a great.
When I go to,
Yeah. So the other tricky policy issue is that with I'm just going to use food stamps because everybody knows it, but you have to, unless you're disabled, homeless, or elderly, they have to be chilled. So we make them, we chill it down, and to the point, and we make them just to the point where they're ready to be reheated, and then they can last about 3 days in the refrigerator, and most of our recipes can be frozen, actually. And then all the nutritional information is on the packaging. It's in a microwavable container, and all the heating instructions are on there as well.
So do you envision like Sunday being your big day where everyone comes, picks up the food for the week? At least
I think there's going to be, I think different communities are going to have different, it's really a malleable kind of a concept, right? So the core concept is, here are your meals for the week. For some people, it's going to be when they go to the Boys and Girls Club to pick up their kids, and maybe it's Friday for the weekend and Monday or Tuesday for the rest of the week. Ultimately, I think, because produce, we also want to distribute fresh produce with this. Every 3 days, you kind of need fresh produce for the most part, right? So I could conceive of, we set up a chef at one kitchen, they're there 2 days a week, and they're somewhere else 2 days a week, and then they have another day to do homework and administrative stuff.
We got time for one more.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my wife and I run a nonprofit where we help fund adoptions. And one of the things we're working on right now is an app, because there's a lot of moving parts. And I'm hearing the same thing with you. There's just a ton of ways. The way we refer to it as kind of like a WordPress concept of plug-in. And so we're working on an app that allows people to figure out how can they plug in to be part of this process.
Yes.
So when you get you have a loyalty base, people that are passionate about what you're doing, and we have something called How Can I Help? And then it kind of filters down from there. So it's supply chain, financing.
Awesome.
So you might think about that is on your app development we kind of call it like an Uber-like thing, just like how can I help this process? And so
Fantastic.
you can filter it down from there. So.
Thank you, that's really helpful. Thank you all for your questions and comments.
Thank you.